Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zeng here, and today I'm back with another episode of Road to Rank, where I climb the online VGC 15 ladder and provide live commentary as I go. We're going to jump straight into today's episode with the Mega Sceptile team. We do only have a couple of days left with this team. Huge credits to Hibiki VGC once again for allowing me to use it. And we're just going to get started right away as we find Rosario from Italy with a rating of 1677. As always, if you enjoy Road to Rank, please show support by leaving a like in the video. I'd really appreciate it. In addition, if you haven't checked out the last two episodes of Road to Rank, I highly recommend them. Oops. That was supposed to be silent as I took a picture of my opponent's team there. But yeah, those two episodes were really good, and probably the two best episodes we've had with the team yet. So yeah, go check those out. Anyway, my opponent here has a pretty standard team of Bisharp, Kangaskhan, Landorus, Amoonguss, Thundurus, and Sylveon. So I think the Alakazam here will actually do a lot of work because Psychic / Hidden Power Ice puts in work against anything but the Bisharp. Something like Alakazam and Volcarona I think is really good here. Might actually just lead with those two. I really do like that. In the back, I definitely want the Virizion here. I think it puts on a lot of pressure. And Landorus is tempting here, but I actually like Bisharp the most here, I think. Just because of its ability to check the Sylveon by getting an Iron Head off. So, yep, I'm going to go with those four Pokemon, and we'll see how this game plays out. You know, we both have Pokemon that are really strong against each other's, and when I say that, I mean just Pokemon that can pick up one-hit KOs against each other. So, Virizion's Close Combat can just knock out Kangaskhan. Alakazam here can Psychic to knock out the Amoonguss. And those are Pokemon that are typically bulky enough to survive most attacks, even typically super effective attacks, unless, you know, they're really powerful. But in this case, Kangaskhan can't take a Close Combat, unless, of course, it's intimidated by Landorus. And Amoonguss, while one of the bulkiest Pokemon in the format, can't take a Psychic from Mega Alakazam. So, we'll see if we can get myself into that opportunity. The Volcarona here is really important because of Rage Powder. It'll be able to redirect attacks away from Pokemon like Kangaskhan and from Bisharp, which will want to Sucker Punch the Alakazam. So, I'm going to lead with Alakazam and Volcarona here as we see the Thundurus Sylveon lead for my opponent, which is a really strong lead on my opponent's end. Not particularly fond of this. So, based off who I have in the back, this is actually, yeah, not a good start to the game. I think what I'm going to do is Mega Evolve Protect here and go for a... I could go for the Fiery Dance. I don't want to switch out here because neither of the two Pokemon I have in the back can take a Hyper Voice really well. So I'm just going to go for the I'm going to go for the Protect and the Fiery Dance. See if I can do enough damage to Sylveon to put it in Psychic KO range. I don't anticipate it, but that would be nice. A fun trick I could do the following turn is skill swapping Sylveon's Pixelite away to make sure that Hyper Voice does less damage. However, the Thundurus here is also kind of a big deal because it can just Thunder Wave everything. So my opponent made a really good lead choice here, and you'd imagine if I, you know, led with something like Landorus and Bisharp, this would be a much better position, but I was not expecting to see the Thundurus Sylveon lead there, and that was a really good job by my opponent. So, Alakazam's going to protect here. He is going to Thunder Wave into the Alakazam, so Volcarona is going to be able to at least get some damage off here immediately with a Fiery Dance. We'll see how much damage it does to this Sylveon. Psychic might actually be able to knock it out. I'm not sure, but that did a bit more than I anticipated. He does get a Hyper Voice off here against Volcarona, which obviously stinks, but now I'm going to go for the Psychic here onto Sylveon, and I'm going to go for the Rage Powder with my Volcarona to redirect any potential Thunder Waves away. So we'll see if I can, you know, take advantage of this right now. Thundurus is going to go for that Thunder Wave here. So, you know, Lumberry would be really helpful on Volcarona. It has Rocky Helmet, which helps out a lot, especially against Pokemon like Kangaskhan, which my opponent, you know, does carry. But Alakazam here is going to be able to get the Psychic off. Let's see if it's enough to knock out the Sylveon. Oh! Even with the crit, he hangs on with just a sliver of HP. That's a really bulky Sylveon. So Alakazam falls down to 5 HP, which is alright here. But the main issue right now is that Thundurus is still sitting very healthy. Based off what my opponent has in the back, I think I'm gonna go for the Hidden Power Ice here. No, actually Psychic is still fine. Yeah. I'll just Psychic and Rage Powder once again here. So you can see how annoying Thundurus is against this team. It's kind of a big nuisance. So Alakazam's gonna get the Psychic off. It's gonna knock out Virizion, but it looks like my opponent made the good play here by going for a Thunderbolt with the Thundurus. Without Landorus in the back, you know, I don't really have much offensive pressure against the Thundurus, which is kind of an issue. A Thunderbolt here doesn't knock out the Volcarona, and I would have actually, you know, not minded him KOing me there, so I'd get a free switch in, which makes this game a bit trickier. My opponent now actually brings in the Landorus, which can make this really interesting because, as you guys know, I do carry Hidden Power Ice with my Alakazam. So I might just be able to surprise my opponent and pick up a knockout here with a Hidden Power Ice. And I'm just going to go for the Fiery Dance here onto Thundurus. And, you know, I'm behind in this game right now, but I'm really hoping I can catch my opponent off guard. I also have to hope that the Landorus is adamant nature, but most Scarf Landoruses are. And I do get the Hidden Power Ice off, which is fantastic. So Alakazam going to be able to target that Landorus with the Hidden Power Ice, and it does pick up the one-hit KO, so I'm sure that totally caught my opponent off guard. He was probably just hoping to get a Rock Slide off there. Thundurus goes for the Thunderbolt onto Volcarona, not targeting Alakazam, so Alakazam sticks around for yet another turn. Things are looking much better than they did it like 2 turns ago. But now I'm going to bring in the Virizion. I want to conserve the Bisharp because I assume my opponent's last Pokemon is going to be that Kangaskhan, and indeed it is. So, should be able to close out this game as long as nothing too crazy happens. What I'm going to do here is go for the Double Protect. Yeah. Now I can also steal Thundurus' Prankster. Or actually no, I trace Prankster, so I would just give it Prankster as well. I can steal Kangaskhan's the Parental Bond away though, which might be something I'm considering doing if Kangaskhan wants to go for a Sucker Punch. What I'm going to do here is just Double Protect though, make sure he doesn't get a Fake Out off. And then the next turn, you know, Virizion can safely close combat Kangaskhan. He's probably going to be inclined to Thunder Wave my Virizion slot, which is fine. But closing out this game still might be a bit scary. It's just right now he doesn't have enough offense to seal up the game, if anything. Because, you know, Thundurus is going to want to Thunder Wave the Virizion to shut it down, but that means Kangaskhan can only target 1 of 2 Pokemon, so I'm going to be able to get either a knockout with Virizion if I don't get fully paralyzed. And he basically needs to hope for the full paralysis right now, unless he has Swagger, which can also, you know, help him win the game. A Fake Out's going to target the Virizion here. We're going to see the Thunder Wave onto Virizion as well, so a good play by my opponent there to, you know, try to get a mistake out of me there, but I'm not going to allow it to happen. But given like Kangaskhan is Fake Out, it most likely does not have, the Protect. Wow, that was totally me blanking out. Which is good news. So the question here is, do I want to Skill Swap? Yeah, I think I'm actually going to Skill Swap Kangaskhan and Close Combat it. This means that if he tries to go for a Sucker Punch, he won't be able to knock me out, and then Psychic can just knock out Thundurus. So my opponent really needs a full paralysis right now. Alakazam's going to be able to get that Skill Swap off, stealing that Parental Bond away and giving Kangaskhan Prankster. Of course, Prankster on Kangaskhan really not going to be able to do anything since it doesn't use attacks that Prankster would take advantage of. Thunder Wave's going to come out from Thundurus, going to target that Virizion as it really needs to, so my opponent really has to hope for a full paralysis right now. Virizion, however, unfortunately for my opponent, gets the Close Combat off. But the fun thing about that turn was, even if he got a full paralysis, Kangaskhan would not have been able to knock me out because he would only get, you know, single target attack off. But then the main issue is the following turn Virizion would be the slowest Pokemon on the field, so my opponent could just double up on that. So now I'm just going to be able to Psychic and Stone Edge and basically seal up the game. And this game was basically won off the fact that my opponent brought in the Landorus and thought Landorus was safe, and I was able to pick up that surprise knockout. If he brought in Kangaskhan there, I think the game would have been in a considerably worse position, just because Volcarona and Alakazam were both at very low HP, and then having the Landorus in the back obviously was kind of a big deal as well. So Alakazam's going to be able to get this Psychic off. Actually gets a special defense drop, procs the Thundurus' Citrus Berry, but with the Parental Bond, it's going to get another attack off. I doubt he'll finish it off, but let's see. Yeah, comes pretty close. That's pretty fun, as Thundurus is going to go for the Thunderbolt here, obviously targeting Alakazam, but with the Bisharp in the back and with Virizion being able to attack here, we're just sticking around. Game should be sealed up. Oh, full paralysis there. Definitely something my opponent needs. It's never over when you're facing against the Thundurus, which has access to Thunder Wave, but my opponent's going to need a ridiculous amount of rolls right now. So yeah, that was a really intense game. I thought I was in a really bad position right from the get-go with the lead matchup, and Psychic not picking up the knockout onto Sylveon was also a heartbreaker, but Alakazam being able to hang around for a bit longer was incredibly important, and that really helped me out in the long run, because I was able to pick up the KO obviously into Landorus, which was huge, but then also steal away Parental Bond from Kangaskhan, though I guess that didn't really matter too much in the closing turns, but still just, you know, assisted me. Basically, the surprise HP Ice knockout was the best thing, though. A Bisharp here is not going to get fully paralyzed, going to get the knockoff off and finish off Thundurus, as we're going to be able to take a 2-0 win in today's first game. Really intense match there, honestly. I thought my opponent led incredibly well, and I was really regretting my leads after the beginning. One of the main reasons I lead with Mega Alakazam is because it threatens Amoonguss so much. You guys may remember that episode from a while back where my opponent had Amoonguss and I had no answer to Amoonguss whatsoever, and as a result, it was just me trying to play around Amoonguss, and it was an incredibly difficult game. In this case, you know, I'd rather have my answers to Amoonguss right from the start, and Alakazam is a Pokemon that can hit the majority of the format with pretty good damage because of Psychic, but obviously not enough damage. As you saw, Sylveon was able to hang on there with the sliver of HP, even with the critical hit, so, I mean, that's a testament to how specially defensive Sylveon is. But we're going to look for our second match of the day as we continue to try and climb up, as we're going to find Blue from Portugal with a rating of 1579. Blue here will have a team of Arcanine, Aegislash, Landorus. Wow, this is really interesting. A Thundurus T, Gastrodon, and the Sceptile. It's been a while since I've seen one of those, but Alakazam here can actually be pretty helpful because I can actually steal abilities away, which is really fun. I could also Hidden Power Ice to knock out Landorus. Yeah, I do think Alakazam will be integral in trying to win this match. The question is, who do I pair it up with? Thundurus T, I assume, is the Choice Scarf user here. Though I guess Volcarona can be pretty helpful. I do have to choose correctly here. For example, the Gastrodon is always a big threat, so part of me really wants to bring Virizion, but then it's like if my opponent doesn't bring Gastrodon, then it's kind of dead weight. Though, I imagine Thundurus is going to want to go for a... It's going to just want to try to launch, you know, Thunder or Discharges immediately from the get-go. So as a result, I mean, maybe bringing Landorus actually isn't the worst of ideas. I definitely want to lead with the Alakazam, though. Yeah, I do like that. Alakazam, and part of me actually wants to go with Volcarona here, because if my opponent leads with the Sceptile, I can just try to knock it out with a Fiery Dance. But I do need something to beat the Bisharp in the back in case my opponent brings it, so I think the calls have Virizion and Bisharp in the back. Feels kind of odd not to bring Landorus and Rotom, since both of those deal with Discharge really well, but I don't know. Landorus here, you know, my opponent has the Gastrodon, which is kind of what's scaring me the most. Maybe it's not the worst of cause, but neither of those Pokemon can take Leaf Storms from Sceptile very well either, so I'm gonna choose not to bring either of them, I think. Rotom Wash would be alright here, but it can't hit Thundurus T other than Hydro Pumps, which is obviously relying on low accuracy. A Gastrodon can just redirect my Water-type attacks away if my opponent chooses to bring it. And I think Virizion and Bisharp are important enough because they pick up knockouts on Pokemon that I otherwise would have a lot of difficulty dealing with. So I'm going to lock in there and we're going to see how this goes. I actually just really hate playing against Mega Sceptile teams. I think they can be really good, and a lot of the times they just catch you off guard and overwhelm you with offense before you can really do anything. And we are going to see the Thundurus Sceptile lead from my opponent from the get-go. So it's, you know, really scary right from the start. I do lead with Alakazam and Volcarona here. Alakazam, you know, going to be able to at least Mega Evolve, Protect, and try to trace something. If I could trace Voltazorb, or honestly Lightning Rod, both are great here. So I'm just going to go for the Protect, and I'm going to go straight for the Fiery Dance onto Sceptile here. I don't think he can knock Volcarona out, but I'm not, you know, too confident on Sceptile's moveset. I'd imagine it's something like Leaf Storm, Dragon Pulse, Protect, and a fourth move, which I'm not entirely sure of. But Mega Sceptile is a Pokemon that's really not used very much in VGC, mainly because of how frail it is, and because how, you know, in order to use it properly, you basically have to pair it up with the Discharge user, most of the time Choice Scarf as well. But Alakazam here is going to be able to Mega Evolve, and we'll see what ability I you know, trace. Actually, in retrospect, I think it would have been fine to just attack with Alakazam. If anything, I was probably scared of him going for a Leaf Storm. But actually, interesting to note here, because Sceptile doesn't Mega Evolve first, I traced the Overgrow, which is actually really bad. Might have been a bit smarter to just Protect with Alakazam that first turn without Mega Evolving, and then forcing him to Mega Evolve into Sceptile, and then I can start, you know, hope to get a good ability there. So he does just go straight for the Discharge here, and that should be Choice Scarf. So yeah, that was a pretty bad blunder on my end there, honestly. So he's gonna go for the Dragon Pulse here, gonna smartly target down Volcarona. Is that enough to knock me out? Let's see. Oh, hangs on with 13 HP. Clutch from Volcarona right there. I get a Fiery Dance off though. Is it enough to knock out the Sceptile? Let's see. Wow, that's really bulky. I don't know why I thought it could knock it out. And that puts me in a really scary position. Wow. I did not play that first turn well at all. The main issue was just not tracing the right ability with that Alakazam, because, I mean, he also got the better end of me, just targeting down the Volcarona instead. So I could just go for the Psychic here, and I think I have to switch Volcarona out into Virizion, but now I'm really dealing with the roles of full paralysis and whatnot, which kind of sucks, but I don't really have any other option. Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, this is where you'd see maybe Brain Landorus and Rotom wouldn't have been the worst call, just because they at least, you know, shut down the Thundurus relatively. So Sceptile is going to be able to continue to take advantage of that Lightning Rod boost. He's going to be able to deal a lot of damage there to the Alakazam, but fortunately I am faster, so I'm going to be able to get the Psychic off. I don't even know if it's enough to knock it out, though. Okay, it is. Good. So at least that shuts down the main offensive user on my opponent's team, but this Thundurus is still kind of a big deal right now. Fortunately enough for me, I have not gotten fully paralyzed yet, which is kind of a big deal, but I just can't get over how big of a mistake I made that first turn by choosing to Mega Evolve Alakazam immediately. We're going to see Arcanine come in for my opponent here too, which is definitely not a Pokemon I want to see. Now I'm really regretting not bringing in the Landorus. You'd imagine how good it would be right now, but it's going to be a really tough one to close out here, especially because I brought Bisharp to try to take advantage of that boost, but the fun thing here is my opponent's going to have to discharge himself if he wants to do anything, so I'm actually just going to double protect this turn to see what he chooses to go for. Thundurus now being locked with the Choice Scarf means that he's, you know, he has to switch out or protect with the Arcanine here, and I wonder if my opponent has the Gastrodon in the back as well. So Virizian's actually in a better position than you'd imagine it to. A Thundurus here could also choose to switch out to obviously just get rid of the Choice Scarf attack what it's currently locked into, but if he chooses to switch out, then I'm safe to double target the Arcanine. And looks like Arcanine's going to be switching out here. I guess Gastrodon's coming in here, which I'm actually really happy to see here. It is going to be that Gastrodon, meaning that I can actually just safely go for the Leaf Blade onto it the following turn. So, you know, there was no reason not to double protect there. Just scout out for what my opponent wanted to go for. The Thundurus here, most definitely launching that discharge out. Yep. But the fun thing here now is I could potentially get a Defiant boost from the Bisharp now. But the question is, do I want to switch in Bisharp right now? I don't think so. I wonder if Gastrodon's going to protect here. You'd imagine it will, but let's see. I think best play for my opponent here. Yeah, I mean, I guess I could, by switching out Alakazam, I can also retrace Thundurus' ability, which is kind of fun. So Volcarona is definitely the most useless right now, so I'm going to switch in Volcarona, and I guess I'm just going to go for the Leaf Blade onto Gastrodon. So even if Gastrodon protects here, I'm going to be able to get a lot more offensive pressure the next turn, as long as he doesn't paralyze my Virizion, which I mean, honestly might happen, but Gastrodon is going to make the right play here. It is going to go for the Protect. Thundurus is going to launch another discharge here, so really hoping for no full paralysis here. I could have, you know, predicted my opponent and gone for the Stone Edge, which honestly might have been the better play, but I really can't afford losing Virizion right now. If I get fully paralyzed, though, this game will be very difficult to win. Fortunately enough, though, no full paralysis, which is huge for me. And what this allows me to do is bring in the Bisharp. And now I can go safely for the knockoff onto Thundurus and the Leaf Blade onto Gastrodon. And I've caught my opponent in a really bad position. Basically, Gastrodon's going to want to switch out here, unless it has Rindo Berry, because otherwise it's going to get knocked out. And if he switches out, then Bisharp gets the Defiant boost, and, you know, I can just knock off Thundurus. And since I know Thundurus' Choice Scarf, he obviously has 4 attacking moves, unless he's carrying Protect, which, you know, sometimes Choice users like to use. Very rare, especially on a Thundurus, which you'd imagine would like to take advantage of the offensive moves it gets, like Discharge, Thunderbolt, Hidden Power, Grass Knot, maybe even Focus Blast. But he's going to stay in here with Gastrodon, which is a smart play. We'll see if the Gastrodon does have the Rindo Berry. He's probably fishing for a paralysis here. He does get it on Virizion. Do I get fully paralyzed here? Oh my gosh. That's a heartbreaker. Yeah, he's gonna go for the Scald here onto the Bisharp, but oh my gosh. Well, if Alakazam can trace the Volt Absorb here, I can still keep myself in the game, but I really need the Volt Absorb right now. If I don't get it, it's gonna be game over. What does that trace? Trace is the Storm Drain. Okay, that's gonna be game. So I thought I had that comeback sealed up, but fortunately not the case. Oh, but I did knock off the Choice Scarf. So I am faster with that Mega Alakazam right now. But I don't think that's enough to win the game. I assume he's just gonna Ice Beam Virizion. Unless Virizion would somehow manage to hang on, but I would just go for the Psychic here. Maybe Protect Virizion? He's probably gonna Ice Beam it, right? Even if I Protect Virizion, though, you know what? I'm just gonna go for the Leaf Blade Psychic play here. Oh, I can't tell you how heartbreaking it is for Virizion to get paralyzed and fully paralyzed on the same turn, but you know, it was kind of expected for it to happen. But if you know, the game you'd imagine would have been won basically if he didn't get that paralysis, because then I'd have Virizion and Alakazam in the back, and then Bisharp would be able to safely knock out the Thundurus with a Sucker Punch, since Thundurus relies fully on offensive moves. He actually withdraws the Thunderous here, which is a pretty smart play, but that's one reason why I didn't want to protect. I don't know. But we'll see what my opponent does here. I have to hope that he kind of messes up. If he plays his cards correctly, he's going to be able to win, but I can still manage to try to pull something off if, I don't know, Psychic crits the Arcanine here. So I'm going to get the Psychic off. Let's see how much it does to the Arcanine. Does okay. Oh, he goes for the Icy Wind. That's not going to be enough to knock me out. So, let's see if Leaf Blade connects with the Gastrodon here. That would be great. As... another turn of full paralysis from poor Virizion. Wow, because he had Icy Wind, I still could have pulled something out here, but not anymore, I don't think. Let's see. I guess I'll just Psychic the Arcanine here and Leaf Blade Gastrodon. Wow, that is so heartbreaking. Though, at -2 attack, because of the Intimidates, Leaf Blade is obviously only ×2 super effective, so I don't even know if that's enough to knock out Gastrodon. But, yeah. That was like, I mean, at this point I'm just basically hoping that I can still try to get something off here. If Icy Wind misses Alakazam, maybe. He's going to protect with Arcanine, which is the right play. So Psychic's just going to go into it. He's going to go for another Icy Wind here. Unfortunately, it connects with both of my Pokemon. So yeah, I think at this point that's going to be game. I probably should have tried to protect there with Alakazam, but yeah, I don't know. The issue in doing that is if Arcanine. Oh, and he does have Rindo Berry. Okay. So that was interesting. He had Rindo Berry this entire time. Leaf Blade actually gets the critical hit there, which is kind of funny. So I guess I'm not sure how much the full paralysis mattered then. If anything, I probably should have doubled up on that slot to be safer. But I guess with I mean, regardless, my opponent, by getting that paralysis and full paralysis in the same turn, ensured like Gastrodon picked up the knockout there. So if anything, I actually should have played safer and protected with Bisharp and just Leaf Bladed that slot. That was probably my biggest blunder. But now my opponent's going to be able to seal up the game here, I think. So I'll just go for the Psychic onto Thundurus and the Stone Edge onto Arcanine. But at -2 speed, he's going to be able to finish this one off. So that was kind of interesting. I think I should have played safer definitely with Bisharp. I maybe also should have considered bringing Alakazam there instead of the Bisharp, just because Alakazam could have traced the Thundurus' ability immediately, which would have been helpful. Instead I brought Bisharp, which was me maybe getting a bit ahead of myself. I was hoping that he would switch out into Arcanine and I could take advantage of that, but obviously that didn't happen. But very well played on my opponent's end, I would say here, and I just didn't make the best plays possible, and I played a bit too aggressively. Protecting with Bisharp and Leaf Blading with Virizion definitely would have been the call that turn, so even if he got the paralysis there, at least I would have been able to scout out for whether he switched out or not. And then I think another play I would have probably made was bringing the Alakazam instead of the Bisharp, but really sucks here that Alakazam wasn't able to trace Thundurus' ability, and that would have helped me out so much. But he's going to go for the Thunderbolt here. That's just going to target Alakazam, and the Icy Wind here is going to allow my opponent to finish up the game. So I've really nicely done on my opponent's end here. Arcanine going for the Overheat, going to target down that Virizion, and it's going to be able to pick up the KO. So very well played, and really cool team on my opponent's end too. Really, fun to see Mega Sceptile and Thundurus team, but then also Pokemon like Arcanine and Gastrodon, which aren't exactly the most common in VGC, but are definitely really good when used correctly, and my opponent definitely used them correctly. So, a great game to my opponent there. That was a really fun one, even though I lost, and I definitely could have played a bit better, but that's the tricky thing with using a more frail team like this team. Relies heavily on you getting attacks off every turn, and when you're getting paralyzed by Thunder Wave or getting swaggered or, making the wrong predictions, your opponent can fully capitalize, and, Virizion, Bisharp, and Alakazam are Pokemon that really, basically get 2-hit KO'd by anything. Rotom Wash, bit bulkier but can't dish out as much damage, and Volcarona also the same case. I also totally just totally blanked out on how good Mega Sceptile is in terms of the special defense department, so that caught me off guard a bit as well. But really nicely done on my opponent's end. That was a fun game, and huge credits to my opponent for having a really fun team. So we're going to split today's episode 1-1, but I don't mind losing that one just because my opponent had a really cool team. Anyway, that's going to be it for this episode, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Leave a like always if you did, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Alright, peace.